Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Titan Business Builders podcast. And as always, we are joined by an amazing guest. An amazing guest today is Michael Ayre. He is the co founder of SheheThey, and that is the home of diverse brands and the world's first marketplace for people who embrace equality. Did I say that right, Michael?
You did well done, Stefan. Thank you.
So SheheThey, as you can see right here, is your new platform, is your new site, a marketplace. And you mentioned to me that you eventually want to be an alternative for Amazon, eBay, and Etsy. I'm guessing that's a huge undertaking, seeing the size of those kind of competitors, let's say. How did you came up with the idea to go for that kind of a goal?
Wow. Yeah, it is a big goal. When you hear words like Etsy, Amazon, or eBay, obviously they are huge. First of all, thank you for having me on the show as well. It's great to be
Absolutely.
here. In terms of SheheThey being a true alternative, what we don't necessarily want to be is the same size or scale as Amazon, Etsy, or eBay, but we do want to offer the right kind of people a real alternative to those platforms. In answer to your question, where we came up with SheheThey, we looked for something similar. So around about a year ago, in the summer 2021. I always forget which year we're in now. We're just having lockdown. I feel like we've
Yeah.
missed a few years. But yeah, summer 2021, we were looking for a similar kind of platform. And we got to the fifth or sixth page of Google and very quickly realized that there wasn't
Mm.
anything like SheheThey out there. We then started to do a little bit of research around inequality and around businesses that are underrepresented, and really started to unearth some quite horrific statistics around brands and opportunities that brands have that come from a minority background. That really then spiraled into the idea that we should build a platform where minority-owned businesses can sell their products from, to one, obviously increase their visibility, to be able to tell their own story, but ultimately, hopefully, to grow their business as well and make them more money. Because in a world where we all get kind of the mainstream thrown at us all the time, it's
Mhm.
great to offer a true alternative for businesses that haven't necessarily had that opportunity before.
And that's a great goal. And that's really inspiring to see something like this being built for sure. I mean, we are part of the LGBTQ plus community. We know definitely what it means to have to battle through the mainstream, let's say, and other minorities as well, for sure. Um, how is it being perceived within these groups? What are people saying about this platform?
Well, being fairly new, and being a new concept meant that we didn't understand what kind of appetite would be there. And what was quite interesting is in the very early days, we started to reach out to some businesses who we felt may be suitable. So they were very values driven. The kind of products that they sold really promoted equality. And we reached out to those businesses and asked if they would like to sell on a platform like SheheThey, and the appetite and the reaction for this kind of platform has been absolutely fantastic, ranging from people who do this in their bedroom as a side hustle, it's not their full-time job, right through to businesses that are established, that have a team behind them, that have a really good, reputable brand. Um, and everyone in between, the reaction has been absolutely fantastic. And just to go back to the statistics about why should exist, some of the statistics that we found, um, like I say, were quite shocking. And I think this is why the reaction that we've had has been so positive. So back in 2021, there was a report done by the British government, and it was really based around the fashion and the creative and the textiles industries. And some of those results that came on the back of that really demonstrated that we've got such a long way to go in terms of underrepresented minority-owned brands being visible. So, for example, 68% said that they'd witnessed discrimination. 90%, I mean, this is 90%, 9 out of 10 people felt that the imagery did not represent a spectrum of different identities. 87.5% did not feel like they were being represented. 83.7% felt that non-inclusive brands would impact a person's decision on whether they would buy from that brand. So if 83% of buyers are telling us that they are now looking for reputational brands that look at inclusivity, diversity, and equality, but they then struggle to buy from those brands because they're difficult to find, I think that justifies why SheheThey needs to exist, because consumers are asking for it.
Yeah, it makes me wonder, like, why big platforms like Amazon or Etsy don't do more efforts to make sure that the minority groups are more visible.
Well, they would say
Is
that they do. So,
Yeah.
so, 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 what they would say is during Pride Month, we
Mm.
put a Pride flag on our homepage. During Black History Month, we spotlight Black or people of color. We talk about these issues, but it's
Mhm.
only at a time that suits what they've got planned in for
Yeah.
the rest of the year. So it suits them when it suits them, and that's absolutely no disrespect to them. I think what it highlights is that there's a real need for a platform out there that actually looks at all minorities at all times for 12 months of the year.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Even though that people would say like, yeah, but why do you need something like this? Everything is mainstream these days, but it proves you just prove the point that still these days there's so many people that are looking for brands that they can relate with, that a platform like this is really necessary.
And
Yeah.
if people say that minority owned businesses do get representation, I mean, I've just spoken there about a study that was done in 2021, which
Mm.
which obviously demonstrate that isn't the case. And I think there's something fundamentally wrong if a queer owned business can only make a decent amount of money during Pride Month.
Hmm.
If the other 11 months of the year they struggle to reach an audience because queer people aren't being spoken about, then that tells me that there's a need that's been identified there that hopefully SheheThey will fill.
Yeah, while I mean, if we're talking about the LGBTQ plus community, there's definitely a lot to say about the buying power that the community has. That people mistaking this, like it's such an opportunity for a lot of businesses to connect with that community, and even for business owners in our own community, it's the best opportunity to connect with our own community, to make sure that we can leverage that, right? And I think a platform like yours really will help like boost that, right? And that's a
Yeah,
good thing about it.
yeah, absolutely. And I think we're on a real mission here to create a cycle of positive um, consumerism. So
Hmm.
essentially, what we want to do is we want to give anyone the opportunity to come and buy from a minority-owned business, but then they can find out about that seller. So on the platform, each seller will have a
Mm.
bio page where they can talk about themselves, talk about their lived experience, what their values are. So actually, in doing that, not only are people purchasing some fantastic products from a minority-owned business, but they're learning about that person and they're learning about their background. So actually, hopefully, people leave and they've learned a little bit more about why visibility and equality is so important. As well as that, we will also have things like a newsroom. So in there, we'll have a section where we'll have, it's almost like a real-time stream of updates of news around the world that affect minority-owned businesses and people. But also we'll have an article section where we'll have blogs where people can talk about their lived experience. We'll have a section there about incredible humans. So there's some people there doing absolutely amazing things, and we'll have sections on the website where people can find out about the people behind the products. I think we've got a responsibility to do that, to make sure that not only are we giving people a platform to sell products from, but we're giving people obviously a platform to tell their story from as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Very important. It's not just a listing of businesses, it's not a directory, it's an all encompassing like marketplace where you can find any information of this. Now,
Absolutely.
if we're looking at this kind of a site of a development of a business, even the site by itself, you're not a big team, right? I mean, you're with two people. Am I correct?
Yeah, that's right. So I've still got a full-time job, and I am helping to launch SheheThey outside of my full-time job. So I haven't slept in about a year. I'm going to be honest with you. Sleep is hard to come by these days, but absolutely. So it's myself and my fiance of 5 years. We we are the core of SheheThey, but I have to say we've got some fantastic support out there. So even the likes of yourself, staff, who kind of invite us on podcasts and ask us to do articles.
Mm-hmm.
We've got friends and family who are asking us to get involved in their activities as well. So although we are a small team, we don't feel like a small team because of the support that we have from everyone
Mm.
around us.
How does it, if you compare it with other startups, would you say it's the same kind of trajectory that you're following? It's a bootstrapped startup, right? So you don't get any funding right now. How does that development look like?
Yeah, so the whole thing is self-funded. And interestingly enough, we've actually just come off a call this afternoon with someone who is a finance expert. So talking around what our options are, and essentially what they've said is that because it is such a scalable business, and because we will be available worldwide eventually, to compete with the likes of Etsy, Amazon, we will need funds, and we
Mm.
know that. But at the moment, we are completely self funded. So any money that we put into the business is from our own back pockets, the back
Yeah,
of the sofa, that
yeah.
kind of thing. So yeah, it's all self funded. But the good thing is with that though is that we have complete creative control, and
Mm.
we can really hone in on our values, our messaging. We've got no outside influence, so we really focus on what we want to get right in the business, which is making sure that visibility and equality is at the heart of everything that we do.
Do you feel, Michael, that building a startup like this, especially around minorities and also like around LGBTQ plus, is much harder than anything else you have done before?
Yeah, absolutely. So my background is actually so I actually worked in the prison service for a number of years. So this is completely different, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
And Luke does have his own business second to SheheThey. So thankfully he's got experience in running a business and what's involved kind of behind the scenes, I guess. I think what has been really difficult with SheheThey is because we are unique, we've got nothing to compare us to. So we
Yeah.
can't look at someone else and say, well, let's see what worked for them and what didn't work for them, because we are the first. We are the first.
Mm.
We are the first out there. And what we found even more difficult as well is that although we did come across some fantastic studies that have been done around the world that have really given us some key insights into why SheheThey is so important. Actually, there's been very little research done in minority-owned businesses and what kind of support they need.
Mm.
So that's been quite difficult because we've had to work with what research has been done. But what we found is that the money that's been used to fund these kind of studies is very few and far between. So the figures and the stats that have been published are fantastic, but I'm pretty sure that it doesn't actually tell the whole story.
Mm. So even in all the aspects around this kind of concept, there's still not enough being done to make sure that we know enough and to serve everybody that we want to serve, right?
That's right, yeah. So we have very little information on every minority group that we want to support, and actually things like location, earnings, opportunities within the country that you live in play a huge part. So actually, a lot of the studies that have been done have been in first world countries, but even then, it's very little. So we hope that SheheThey will play a part of that. So we will be doing our own studies and our own pieces of
Mm.
research as we develop the business, because we want to be seen as a really reliable source for information for
Mm.
minority groups and how they can be supported. So even at the point of application, when someone applies to sell with us, we ask all sorts of questions, and
Yeah.
that's not because we want to capture all that data and then we want to sell it on. It's got nothing to do with that. We just want to make sure that we are representing the people, because if we aren't asking questions about people's identities and backgrounds and kind of ambitions, then we are essentially doing that person a disservice, because we aren't giving them full credit or visibility.
Yeah, that sounds so much work, Michael. Huge respect to you and Luke for doing this. where where do you find like-minded people in your environment that help you battle through some of these? Like I'm pretty sure you have some of these bad days where you say like, oh my god, what are we doing? Is this really worth it? Where do you find some of the support that keeps you going?
Yeah, and that is a good question. Why do we do it, and where do we find the strength? I
Yeah.
think since we met 5 years ago, we said we always wanted to start a business together that made a
Mm,
difference, and we would never start a business until we identified something that we were both really passionate about. So that was
mm,
ingredient one. We had to land on something that we were both really passionate about. Because let's face it, to do this kind of scale of business, you have to have a little bit of madness in there. So,
yeah.
I think we've definitely got that. In terms of the way that Luke and I work, actually, we've got a fantastic relationship, and I'm very much um, I'm very much a kind of strategy focused person. So I'll talk about different campaigns and
Mm,
and and how we want to kind of maximize the time that we have, and all that kind of stuff. Luke is the techie person, so he's very much tech focused. He's built websites before. He's got a really understanding. He's got a really good understanding of things like SEO.
mm.
He can do math. I can't do math at all. Um, so we've got a really good relationship in that sense. So I think in terms of the ingredients to make this work from the ground up, I think that's been really positive. Um, 3 years ago, Luke and I moved to Manchester. So we moved from the east of the UK to the west of the UK. And what we found living in Manchester is it's an incredibly inclusive city. So what that's done is it's opened up all sorts of avenues of conversation with people who have equality and diversity at the heart of what they do. So we've been very lucky that Manchester's a hotbed of diversity and creativity, which actually inspires us a lot because we see it in our everyday. But because we have lived experience as well, we also we've been there, we've done that. We are two queer people, so we
Mhm.
so I think we know how to connect with audiences that we feel will benefit from SheheThey. But essentially, lack of sleep is what keeps driving us forward. Lack of sleep and wine, I think, gets us through.
Wine.
Gets us through the day.
Well, it's an amazing story for sure. I think it will inspire a lot of people, especially because now that we have like a place not just to promote our own businesses if we're part of a minority group, but also actually to sell something directly on the marketplace. And I think that is really one of the unique selling points with this. Is not, again, it's not just about the directory, it's also selling your products on the platform. Where do you see this going? Like, do you feel like a lot of people will immediately start putting tons and tons and tons and tons of products on
I hope not, because we
there?
because we don't have the time or the resource, and I think that is a very honest. We want to do things the right way from the very start,
Mhm.
and that comes with not overwhelming ourselves, because we are a small team, but also making sure that for each member that signs up to show to sell their products with SheheThey, that we give them the time, and the effort from our side that we feel that they deserve. It's maybe worth just telling the listeners where we are up to with SheheThey at the moment. So we haven't
Mhm.
launched. So we launch in June. However, we have been taking expressions of interest from businesses from around the world over the last few months who are interested in selling on the platform. So we currently have businesses signed up to sell with us from, now this is a test, from Holland, Switzerland, France, Spain, the UK, of course, it's where we are from, the USA, India, Canada, Australia,
Wow.
and I think that's where we're up to. So the response
Yeah.
from around the world has been fantastic, and that might only be one business from that country. From that country, it
Mhm.
might be 30 businesses from that country. But I think that demonstrates that the appetite is there, and that's been through very little marketing, very little outward communication with anyone. Um, at the moment, as it stands, when we launch, we will only be available in the UK. And that's only because we are in discussions with international trade around what we need to do around things like VAT, tax. And again, we
Mhm.
want to make sure we get these things right. And recently, we've had the very inconvenient Brexit vote, which obviously for anyone who wants to do international trade has meant that it's complicated things a little bit, because the rules are still changing in the
Mhm.
UK about what we can and can't do. So that has slowed the pace of the I suppose the pace of how quickly we want to launch a little bit down.
How important will it be for SheheThey to also create a community around what you're doing?
It's interesting that question, because we hope that SheheThey's existence will naturally form a community of like-minded people who all embrace equality. And that's why we say we are the home of diverse brands, because people
Mm.
have to apply to sell on the platform, and they have to identify as being from a minority group, or if they identify as being an ally, or they share a percentage of their profits with charities or organizations that support or protect minority groups, they have to demonstrate that. So if they say I'm an ally, we'll be asking how do you demonstrate that?
Mm.
And equally, anyone who comes and buys from the platform, they will be met with an eclectic mix of people from all kinds of backgrounds, selling some incredible products. So we hope that just those natural roots into SheheThey will create a fantastic community of people who all believe in the same kind of values. We will also allow our sellers, our members, to speak. So we'll have a closed Facebook group where they can talk amongst themselves, learn from each other, share best practice, knowledge share, and then eventually we hope, it's my ambition for 2023 to have our first SheheThey Awards, where we will celebrate the amazing things that the SheheThey members have done, and the kind of work that they do. And we love to have things like global networking groups where SheheThey sellers in Belgium can all get together, meet each other, meet one another, meet like-minded people, and grow their network and grow their business. We were contacted by a business owner in Wales, and they live in the countryside, very much in a small. So I think there was less than 500 people in this village, and she identifies as female, she, her, bisexual, and had never met anyone like her before. And she has applied to sell through SheheThey. And one of the things that she is hoping to get from selling on the platform is to meet other people that represent what she identifies as. So we hope that SheheThey naturally will foster a community of like-minded people without SheheThey having to do particularly a lot. I guess we want those to happen naturally.
That's awesome. Yeah, awesome. A really important piece of any type of business is having that community for sure around what you do. Now, Michael, the store or the marketplace is almost launching. What's that's already an exciting piece, right? That's already stress enough. And but let me ask you, like, what is next? And once you launch, what is like the kind of roadmap that you have for the next coming months? What is in store for the people that are on the marketplace and people that visit the marketplace? How does it look like?
Yeah, that's a great question, because you do try and plan any business 6 months, 12 months in
Yeah.
advance. We have kind of written down, I guess, some milestones that we'd like to reach. So the first thing is that we want to launch with products already live on the website. So this week, in fact, we've been reaching out to our approved sellers, so the people who've already applied and said that they would like to sell on the platform. And we've been telling them more about what to expect from the platform. So the features, for example. So what kind of things can they do? Can they see store analytics? How many products can they post? How many photos can they put against each product? So we've been reaching out to sellers this week, in fact, and doing that. When we launch, I suppose the most important thing is, on the day we launch, does it work? Is it does it actually work? Which I'm sure we will. But we just want to make sure that we get over any stumbling blocks, which there will be. There will be bumps in the road, and we fully expect that. And I think that level of honesty with our members and people visiting the site, we are a startup. We aren't the finished article. Will really help us to understand, I guess, the things that we need to do to improve very early on, because we will appreciate feedback from anyone and everyone. We hope to, by the end of 2022, we hope to have around about 400 sellers on the marketplace. And then from 2023 onwards, we really hope to upscale the business from that point. We are as scalable as we want to be, I guess. There's no limit to how many members we have on board. There's no limit to how many visitors we have to the site each month. There's also no limit to how many products people can buy on the site. So in terms of scalability, we can be as successful and as big as we want to be. We just have to make sure that we stay true to our values, true to our mission and what we stand for, and hopefully we'll have an established business by this time next year. Fingers crossed.
Well, let's make it a hard goal, and let's just set up a new podcast episode a year from now, where we will
Absolutely.
talk again, where we will talk again, and then we will celebrate the success of SheheThey and looking at where you're at that point. But it will be really amazing to see the growth for sure. For now, Michael, I want to thank you for being here with us and telling about your story and about SheheThey. And if people want to know more about it, please go to sheheday.co.uk right here. And you will definitely be hearing more about Michael and SheheThey on technology as well in the coming months for sure. But I always end the podcast episodes with one last question, Michael, and that is, what is success? What does success mean to you?
Wow, that's a big question, isn't it? What does success? So ultimately, success for us is to increase the visibility of underrepresented brands. Essentially, that's what SheheThey exists for. So if in 1 year's time, I come back on this podcast and I've got examples of businesses that we've elevated, that we've increased the visibility of, that have grown. They've been able to turn over a higher profit because of SheheThey. They've been able to tell their story and be their authentic selves, regardless of who they are. Then to me, that is success on any level. That is success. We don't expect to make a huge living from SheheThey, especially in the early days. But we really hope that we can get that one success story, because if you've got one success story, then that can lead to two success stories, and so on and so on. So it's a bit vague, but I hope that does answer your question there, Stefan.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Michael, for being here. I wish you well, and let's talk soon again. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you,
Thanks,
everybody,
everyone.
for watching, for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye bye.